Hi, this is Dr. Barbara Young. I am so excited to be here, and you're looking at Transformation Success Television Network. And today we are featuring a very, very distinguished and honored guest. So I'm happy to have on our show today the renowned and famous Mr. Les Brown. Hi, Les. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. It's always a treat when great people meet.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes.
I like that kind of response. You know, Les, a lot of listeners may not know who you are, and viewers. So I want you to sort of share just who is Les Brown.
I'm a combination of stuff. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called La Vida City, an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. I'm on this program because of two women. One gave me life, and the other one gave me love. I always say when I speak that God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So she adopted my twin brother and I when we were 6 weeks of age, and she was a domestic worker on Miami Beach. And she worked for wealthy families. She cooked for them, and we ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for.
That should have been good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she kept their children, and we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that she kept. And my vision as a kid was, Mama, what is it, Leslie? When I become a man, I'm going to buy you a big, beautiful home just like this. Altogether, my mother, she adopted 7 children, and I was among the 7. And that was a driving force in my life. And when I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. I have no college training, but I met this high school teacher who had very much a personality like yours. His name was Leroy Washington. I eulogized him last year. And I was in his class waiting on another student. He said, young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me. I said, oh, I can't do that, sir. And he said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. And the other students started laughing, saying, he's a twin. He's Leslie, but his twin brother Wesley is smart. He's DT. And he said, what's DT? And they said, he's the dumb twin, and erupted in laughter.
Wow.
And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk and he looked at me. He said, don't ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality.
Absolutely.
And that literally was a turning point in my life. As you know, how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves.
Absolutely.
And he interrupted that story that I saw myself after being called the dumb twin. Faith comes by hearing and hearing, even if it's a lie.
That's right.
That he interrupted that story.
Right.
And as a result, it caused me to really see the value of something he told me. He said, if you want to become successful, young man, he said, number 1, transform your mindset. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Number 2, upgrade your relationships. Practice OQP, only quality people.
Yes, love
and the
that.
third thing he said, develop the ability to communicate, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And I've been practicing that, and now, in this stage of my life, I've been training and speaking for over 47 years. And now, at age 72, and I used to think people in their 40s were old. Now that I'm 72, I feel I was a waiter at the Lord's Supper. So now, I'm training people how to tell their story, how to speak to the world, how to speak for corporations and organizations, but most importantly, also how to dramatically change people's lives individually and collectively by how you tell your story and how to get paid. Because there's no such thing as job security today. I mean, thousands, millions of people are losing their jobs because of technology, robots and artificial intelligence. So people literally have to become entrepreneurial and reinvent themselves.
I think it's a wonderful story. I just have this burning question because it always, for me to ask people, how did you know, or when did you know that this was a calling that you had on your life?
I just discovered, I would say, oddly enough, in the last 3 years.
Really?
In the last 3 years. It took me 14 years to do this because I remember my mentor. His name is Mike Williams. He's been my mentor for 47 years, and he was my newsman. And he talked to me in between records and saying, "You're more than a disc jockey." And he said, "Brownie, do you know why you go see Zig Ziglar and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale?" And I said, "Yes, because I love motivational messages." He says, "No." He said, "Because that's in you. You like to help people." And I said, "Mike, I never worked for a major corporation. I don't have a college education. Who would pay to hear me like they pay to hear them? I don't have the ability to do that. I can't compete with people with PhDs and MBAs." And he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Brownie, all of us are born the same way. Dumb, naked, and speechless. You can learn." You know?
Yes.
And so it took him 14 years to convince me.
14 years.
14 years I didn't do it. And I just didn't think I was good enough. And that's the one regret I have in my life. But I was at an event, and a guy was speaking, and I felt he was talking to me, even though there was 5,000 people there. And he stopped his speech, and he said, "There's somebody here who loves to do this, who loves to change lives."
Oh, wow.
He said, "I love to make money." He said, "I've earned over $10 million. He said, "But you know who you are, and you've convinced yourself that you can't do this." And then he started talking again, and then he stopped. He said, "Oh, and by the way, and you know who you are." He said, "The reason I'm standing up here holding this microphone and you're seated out there," he said, "I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself."
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that just hit me right between the eyes. I got up, I went outside. You can make a telephone call for a dime. And I called Mike Williams, who wrote the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. I wrote the foreword for it. I said, "Mike," he said, "Brownie, what's wrong?" I said, "I'm not disapproving of myself anymore. I'm approving myself. I'm going to speak. I'm going to change lives. I can do this, Mike. I can do this. Mike, do you hear me?" He said, "You're speaking to the choir." I've been telling you that for 14 years. I said, "Well, you could come help me." And he said, "Yes." And I believe, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong, and ask for help and don't stop until you get it. So he flew down and he worked with me. He's a strategist. That's why he wrote the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. And the rest is history. I've spoken for AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric. If people go online and put in Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome, they'll see me speaking to over 80,000 people.
That's really something that you never ever thought. This little boy right there at Miami Beach, and with a woman who adopted you and your brother.
She only had a third grade education, but she had a PhD in motherhood.
Well, that is wonderful. You know, this lets me in. I hope I'm not going to embarrass you, Hammond, but I would love for you to share your experience with something that he impressed upon you, because I think it's important, and we'll share that because we're transparent here.
Absolutely.
So you may want to share the impact that you
over
had
the last few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe start about a month ago, I started getting emails from Les Brown Institute.
Yes.
So I was getting emails, and it was just emails of just sharing about value, the greatness within you, and there was one that came this week. The day that we were actually had planned to schedule this interview, and I got it, and it was just, you know how just something jumps off the page.
Yes.
And
that speech jumped off to me.
And it dropped into my spirit. I do have a message, and I said, "Lord, what can I say?" He said, "Your mess is your message, son."
Yes.
So you have a story. And so I was convincing myself, like you were so many years ago to Mike, I was convincing myself, self-talking, looking at my Mac, saying, "I can do this. I can do this. I know there's greatness within me," and I know it was just electrifying. And just by reading that one email and some things you said,
and because your life is in that place. Maya Angelou said something I believe very much. She said, "There's nothing as painful as an untold story buried in your soul."
That's right. Absolutely.
Because I believe that we all have an energy signature. There are certain people, when I speak, I'm going to reach them.
Right.
There are some people that when you speak, you're going to reach them. Some will hear both of us.
Right.
But there are some that will just hear you. Not just in their ears, but in their heart.
Right.
What we do when we speak, and when I train speakers, I tell them that the key to becoming successful, when I got into the speaking industry, Zig Ziglar, Dr. Norman, Vincent Peale, Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, all these guys had memorized scripts. And you have to remember what that script is. You got to speak from your head.
Right.
I train speakers how to speak extemporaneously, to speak from your heart, because words spoken from the heart enters the heart.
Yes.
And what we do, the process is that the Bible of the self-development industry has been Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Right.
I've never read that book because he never interviewed anybody of color. You know, I have the complexion of rejection. He had the complexion of connection. You're right, being accepted. All right, so he couldn't advise me on how to become successful. A full belly man could never talk to an empty belly man. All right, I had an empty belly that was growling. All right. However, when we speak, as this program here is designed, remember, how people live their lives are the result of the story they believe about themselves. So when you have guests, when you and your son are together with guests, what you do is distract, dispute, and inspire.
Yes.
You distract them from their story.
Yes.
And through your guests talking about the things that they did to overcome the challenges they're facing, you dismantle their current belief system because of your wisdom, because of your experiences, the things that you've gone through, and said, I'm still here.
Yes.
In spite of, I'm still standing.
I'm still here.
And distract, dispute, and inspire them, as I love to say, to become, as Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God and start writing a new chapter with their lives.
That's beautiful.
So the key is not just providing information, because if information could change people, they can Google that.
Right.
If information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. You have to create an experience with your story, and that's how I train speakers, because Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was.
That's true. That is so true. This has been wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed this. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back with the renowned, my friend now, Les Brown. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you. Hi there, and welcome back to Transformation Success Television Network. This is Dr. Barbara Young, and I have here my host, Les Brown, and I have my other host, Mr. Hammond Bolden, today. So, thank you for coming back, because we've got part 2, and you don't want to miss this. So I want you right now, call your friends, tell them to please tune in, listen in, because we've got something great for you. More words of wisdom from Mr. Les Brown. So Les, I have another question I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
And it was, you have all of this inside of you, and when you do your speeches and when you're doing your storytelling, where does it come from?
Well, we are taught, as you know, to study to show thyself approved. I decided, when I decided to become involved in this area, that I would be the message that I bring, that you have to invest in yourself. And when I think about during the middle of the recession, Warren Buffett was asked the question, what's the most important investment you can make? And here's a guy that has billions of dollars in real estate, billions of dollars in the stock market. He said, the most important investment you can make is in yourself. Earl Nightingale said, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. And so when I read Dr. Carter G. Woodson's book, The Miseducation of the Negro, he said, if you can determine what a man shall think, you never have to concern yourself with what he will do. He said, if you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he will seek it himself.
Yep, that's right.
And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. And so I decided, I disciplined myself and made the commitment to read 2 to 3 books a month. I did an event for Bishop T.D. Jakes, and somebody counted the number of my quotes in an hour-and-a-half presentation, and I did 217 and never repeated myself. So this is my passion. This is my life. There's a scripture that said, if a man should gain his life, he must lose it. And first, I didn't understand it, but I think that we were not born to work for a living, but to live our making, and living our making will make our living. So when I speak, I lose myself in it. It is my magnificent obsession. When I speak, I go all in, because my goal is to change lives individually and collectively, so that the people who are in that experience will leave there feeling better about themselves, but talking about my story and how it helped them to get a breakthrough to go to that next level.
I think that's wonderful. And one of the things I think, too, that I hear you saying, and I've heard this too, if you have nothing in, there's nothing to give. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So it's about inputting something there, and wisdom, words of wisdom, and I have often talked to many successful speakers and coaches and people. They read a lot, and they're reading and feeding their spirit, and so it will come out of you.
Yes, it will. And that's an exciting thing. When you are inspiring and motivating people, I believe that inspiration and motivation are perfumes. You can't sprinkle on others without getting a few drops on yourself.
Absolutely.
That's right. You are transformed. I'm not wearing a crown. I'm like the lady who said, Lord, I ain't what I want to be, ain't what I'm going to be, and thank God I sure ain't what I was. Okay, so I'm still growing. This is a new chapter for me that I'm still writing, and my best work has not been done yet.
I believe that.
And I've got to train 7 people that will surpass me. And if any of your listeners are watching, if they have a story and want to get coaching and want to invest in themselves, they can reach me at lesbrown77@gmail.com. 7 is my lucky number.
All right.
I'm one of 7 children. I was born February the 17th. My social security number is 267. My address is 2737.
So the 7.
7 is my lucky number. That's Les
and
Brown.
You can get his seminar for
77.
1997. No, that's not true.
But we do take food stamps, all right? But Les Brown 77@gmail.com. All I want is 7 serious people that are hungry to get their message out. Because most people aren't hungry.
You have to be hungry. That is something.
This is the era what the late Peter Drucker called the era of the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. I just saw a robot in the drugstore, Walgreens, that you can say, please tell me where I can get the perfume, and the robot say, follow me. I said, come on. They got robots doing room service, selling hamburgers at McDonald's. I said, oh my goodness. So you have to die to who you are now to give birth to the entrepreneur in you. If you're serious. People who are not entrepreneurial, they have skinny children. You got to be an entrepreneur.
That's good. I had a question for you, Les, and I've actually watched several of your videos, but there was one that came to mind as I was watching that is, what do you? Because Dr. Young had mentioned on a couple of shows that success can mean differently for different people.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you if you could tell me your definition of success.
I'm glad you asked me that question. Someone asked me that question in another way. It said, what has been the highest, most successful moment that you recognize in your life? And it's when my children got together and they said, Dad, we understand why you missed all the special occasions. Dad, we were angry with you when you were in pursuit of the dream. However, we graduated from college with no debt. We're now adults. We're pursuing our dream. And we now understand. We love you. We are proud of you. And we are just amazed at what you've been able to accomplish with no college education and being able to transform people's lives around the world and build a multi-million-dollar company. I saw something the other day, an interview with Steve Harvey that had a transformative impact on me because I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I'm a great-grandfather. And he went to the hospital with a guy to visit his grandmother. And he overheard the grandmother ask this young man, do you know what your great-grandfather's name is? And he said, no. And she said, because he didn't leave you anything. If he had left you something, you would know what his name is. And so when I heard that, my great-grandchildren, I have 3 great-grandsons. My grandchildren and my 3 great-grandsons.
That's important.
They will know what my name is, because a good man leaves a legacy for his children and for his children's children. So I'm in legacy building and teaching others how to build a legacy.
And you know what? That's interesting, because that was the question I was going to ask you, was about the legacy that you want to leave, because it's so important that you do that. God has given you so much less.
Yes.
And it would be a shame if that wasn't transferred into and duplicated with as many individuals, because you have been given an absolute wonderful gift.
And I've been given grace. I'm a 21-year cancer conqueror.
Yes.
You know, 21 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. My PSA, which stands for prostate-specific antigen, was 2,400.
Wow.
And it metastasized to 7 areas of my body.
Wow.
And the oncologist said, "Why are you smiling? Did you hear what I said?" I said, "Yes. 7 is my lucky number. That means that cancer getting the hell beat out of it." Not the record show. Yes.
But on the other hand, God said, not your time.
No.
There's a lot more work that I have for you to do.
Yes. And
you got to transfer information to others. So no, it's not time. It's not your time. I can tell you that. So, and it's not my time. I'm not going anytime soon. I told the Lord, I said, I want to make it to 99, and a half.
Yeah. I want to make it beyond 100 in my right mind.
Yes. Well, yes.
Which I don't have that much to work with.
No, the DT was taken off. That was taken off.
But I was, I used to ask my mother, "Mama, why do y'all say thank the Lord for waking me up in my right mind this morning?" She said, "Don't worry.
You'll understand one day.
Get old enough, you'll find out." I went in the room to look for something the other day. I got in there. I couldn't remember what I was looking for. Came out, remember what I was looking for, went in there and found it. Then I couldn't remember what I was looking for. I thank the Lord for waking me up in my right mind this morning. I park in the parking lot, can't find my car. God said, "Can I pick you up and drive you around?" First, I had too much pride. Then after he passed me like the 5th time, I said, "Yeah."
Yes, please.
So we got on it. He said, "Can you tell me what your car looked like?" I said, "I can't remember." I just got the master key. Oh my God. So then I'm going to sleep early. I'm doing everything I can. I'm taking ginkgo biloba. I'm drinking aloe juice, wheatgrass, you name it.
Okay. Lord, keep me in my right mind.
That's right. I'm praying. I'm chanting Nomi Yoho Renge Kyo. I'm doing everything. I call on Jesus, Yahweh, Allah, the whole gang.
Yeah. Please come and help my friend.
Don't want to miss
nobody. Don't want to miss anybody. Oh, this has absolutely been so wonderful to spend this time with you and to laugh and to just be so transparent. Are there any questions you've got of me? Because I've been just grilling you, because I have a lot more I'm sure want to ask.
What I wanted to know is, if you look at your life and you look at what you've accomplished, what is the major goal that you have not achieved that you want to achieve? And so the reason I ask you that, I'm in a place where the Russian author Leo Tolstoy, he said, "As I face inevitable death, what is the meaning and purpose of my life that will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone?" So what is it that you're building, that you want to create, that will not be undone or destroyed when you cross over, when you're 99 and a half?
That's an interesting question you asked me, because I got the answer 30 years ago when God called me to do what I'm doing. I didn't know it would be 30 years in the making, though, for me to arrive at that point. But that was to impart wisdom and to transfer exactly the knowledge and the wisdom, and to create women warriors. Women warriors who know who they are, who love God, and who are able to spread the love because they know who they are and secure in it.
That's powerful. That work will not be undone or destroyed when you're gone.
Right.
Because the people, the women, and the men whose lives that you've touched, and the lives that they will touch, and the lives that they will touch, that we're all in God's pyramid, ignited by your mindset, your decision to live a good life, and to ignite the spirit in you to transform people all around the
I
world.
want to add a caveat to that too, because when God told me women, he wasn't leading out men, because what he said was making these women strong and loving and secure in themselves. They're able to be the right helpmate for the man.
Yes.
To be that woman, to help that man, because he designed us to be helpmates, not to compete, but to complete.
Yes. Well, most women, unfortunately, are help me. You know, I mean, are dealing with men who are saying, help me,
Right.
as opposed to being a helpmate.
Helpmate.
You know, they're saying, you know, a friend of mine wrote a book called Women Who Carry Their Men. And I just think that there's too many grown boys out here and sperm donors who are not facing responsibility
Males,
of
men.
playing the roles that they're supposed to be.
Well, what do you think that, given the current climate and environment, when we're looking at our millennials, we're looking at a new group of young people coming along, and the research says that by 2020, we're looking at 11 million millennials. Your son is a millennial. He's sort of at the farther end of it, but he's just an incredible young man, and I want to thank you for having such a wonderful son. We're going to interview him too and talk about him and his goals and where he's been and how having a father like you and the impact on his life. But where do you think that we're going and our millennials? How do we?
These young people are very interesting. My son John Leslie, I have 5 boys and 5 girls. When the Lord said, "Be fruitful and multiply," I took him seriously. You know, I look at you too long, you won't be able to pass a rabbit test. Now, most people out there, they're too young to understand what that means.
They still don't know what that means. Yeah.
You know, I tell you, and especially John Leslie, he's my youngest, and he's a genius. He's just incredible. Yes, and he helps me to do the things that I need to do. And there are times I look at him and say, "You about to make me lose my mind. Up in here, you about to make me act a fool up in here." But that's a part of the parenting process. Because whenever I look at him, I just can hear my mother's voice saying, "Good, now you know what I went through with you." Okay, because I was a problem child. You hear me?
Right.
And so I used to talk to my brother. I said, "Wesley, why don't you get in trouble? They think that I'm crazy." He said, "You are." So when I look at my son John, he reminds me so much of myself. It is unbelievable. Yeah. So he keep blisters on my knees. I'm always praying for you. But I'm so proud of him. And I love him.
You should be. You really should be. He's really, really wonderful. And I'm really proud of this gentleman over here. Really. I mean, it's just a blessing to have you in my life, to have you by my side. And for those of you out there, this is my son. Yes. I was 9.
Yes, I love him.
But I love him, and he works with me, and we just, actually, I report to him, to tell you the truth. But
they run my life, my kids run my life like that, But I'm so glad the two of y'all believe in gray hair, because I don't. Don't believe in that. My kids say, "Oh, Daddy, you look so distinguished with gray hair." I'm 72. I'm not trying to look distinguished. I'm trying to look young.
All right.
But y'all look so beautiful and so distinguished. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, and you are just breathtakingly beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You know black don't crack, honey. It might get a little ashy. My medication wearing off. Y'all better close it out. Whatever. I'm sorry.
This has been wonderful. And probably many of you are seeing a side of Mr. Les Brown that you've not seen before. And that's wonderful. This is Au Naturel today. So we want to thank you for listening and viewing the show today with my special guest, Mr. Les Brown, and my other special guest, my son, Mr. Hammond Bolden. So we'll be in tune with you next week, where we're going to be interviewing his son, John Leslie. Yes.
May I say one last thing?
Yes, you can.
You have greatness in you, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Any last words from you, Mr. Bolden?
Once again, folks, I'm just so honored, as you, those who are viewing, and then those who are listening, to be with this awesome, wonderful man. And we just thank God for that. So again, I'm just honored.
Thank you.
Les
I'm
Brown.
a legend in my own mind.
Okay.
So thank you very much for listening, and thank you for the viewers out there. Tell your friends they got to watch this show. And this is Dr. Barbara Young signing off. Have a very, very blessed week.